Dance is what started our love story.
And now with kids, a business, and big dreams, dance is what keeps our love story going.
In this podcast, we share our knowledge of movement, connection, and creativity with the hope of entertaining and inspiring you.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Raymond. And we love connection.
Should we get into our topic today?
Let's do.
Okay, so I'm Emily. This is my fantastic husband.
Hello, I'm Raymond.
And we are partners in every sense of the word. We run the business together. The business is Mel and Light Dance. We, of course, are a married couple, and we are now parents of two darling little boys.
Yes.
I feel like we've been, best friends forever. I love your chuckle. They're not here right now, so
No.
It's quiet. So yeah, we're partners in every sense of the word. So we founded Mel and Light about 10, are we creeping on 11 years?
11 this October.
It'll be 11 years on October 1st. That's how long we've been in business together, teaching together longer than that. And now we've got this other little animal called We Love Connection. And that's really the point of topic today. So We Love Connection is what we have titled our podcast, which is what you may be watching live right now, or you may be listening to later, or you may check it out on the YouTube. So We Love Connection, it's also the title that we've given our blog, which is, of course, the written version of some of the same content. So We Love Connection is the topic today. And the topic is, why do we love connection? What do we mean? What connection? And why do we love it so much? Why is it important? Why do we think it's worth taking our time to talk about and y'all's time to listen to or engage with? So on that note, thank you if you're with us listening on any platform. We appreciate your eyes, your ears, your hearts, your minds. I know you're busy folks, and so we try to share that which is exciting, inspiring, educational. That is our hope, entertaining. So let's get right into the meat of connection. That's our topic this week. We love connection. What is it, and why do we love it so? Why is it important?
For me, it's like communication, It's just an extra tool for you and your significant other, or even your dance partner. Doesn't really matter who that person is, but it's a silent communication that you share. And a lot of people miss that, I think, when you're learning to dance or when you see dancing, you don't really see that they're actually communicating with one another. But lo and behold, those two dancers, if they're really spot on with their lead and follow, they can feel the connection, and then thus that becomes a nice way to communicate with one another.
I think I've been talking and writing and teaching connection for so long, so I kind of feel like my own broken record sometimes. But you just hit on something that kind of struck a different chord, and you said invisible. And I think I kind of overtook the word magical. I know it's kind of cheesy, but I do I'll say it all the time. Connection is the magic stuff. Oh my gosh, it's magical. After this many years of dancing it with you, with others, and teaching it, I still believe it's magical. And it's it's kind of a cheesy, fairy tale kind of word. Hello,
Hi,
Walter. Thanks for joining us. But I think maybe that's why, because that idea of it being invisible, when you watch a couple dancing and they're on point and you can just see the chemistry, you don't have to know anything about dancing. You don't have to know, if they're doing good technique, bad technique, what kind of dancing they're doing.
It just looks right.
You can see the chemistry between a couple, just like you can see chemistry between a couple even if they're not dancing. So you can see the result of, but you can't see the thing. You can't actually see how are those messages being communicated. So let me give it a definition. Connection. We define it as the silent, nonverbal language of lead and follow. Why don't we just say lead and follow? That's a common dance term in the world of partnership dancing. And we don't just call it lead and follow because I think it's an understatement. So we're going to talk a little bit. I'm going to kind of zoom ahead and we can go back a little bit. I want to go into the history lesson really quick and give this a context. So if you're ready for a little bit of dance history, you might enjoy this. So rewind back to the Great Depression. History repeats itself. That's why I think this is amusing right now. So not that the recession that we're in is so amusing, but what happened in the Great Depression with ballroom dance is that it was the golden era of ballroom dance. Ballroom dance, partnership dance was absolutely booming. It was the biggest boom ever seen in that industry during the Great Depression when people were super broke. How does that make sense? And it sort of doesn't, but I think what was happening was people are so broke anyways and they're depressed. What the hell are you going to do? dance your blues away, right? So they somehow had enough money, at least some people did, to go and buy dance lessons and enjoy dancing. Of course, it was such a structure in the social context at the time. Like, it was a thing. Couples knew how to dance much more so back in that era than they do now. Hello from Florida.
Hi,
we're going to miss the zombie girl this year too. Sad face. Very sad. Next year back on track. So what happened back in that Great Depression era, we're going to give a shout out to Arthur Murray. Maybe you've heard of the Arthur Murray Dance Studio franchise, and Arthur Murray actually started the original Arthur Murray studio back in that era. And it was all the rage. Everyone was dancing. Everybody was doing it. They were selling dance lessons like hotcakes, right? So the reason I'm telling you this is because it created a structure. The dance lessons were so popular at the time that they needed more teachers. So Arthur Murray created a system in which you could go from zilch, from no dance experience at all, to a dance teacher in 6 weeks. That's really not that much time. It's really not. Imagine a lot of times when we talk about it in terms of like learning a musical instrument, it clicks for people a little bit more. Imagine you've done no piano ever, and in 6 weeks from now you shall be teaching piano. That's a little strange,
Something
right?
ain't right.
Now, here's the way that they did it, and they did it successfully, and they still do. So this is no shade to the Arthur Murray chain. We're grateful for them because they've created an industry that we are now a part of, even though we're not a part of the Arthur Murray chain. They focused on teaching patterns or steps, dance steps, right? So steps are fairly easy to teach and fairly easy to learn. Like, for instance, one of the most used patterns, the box step. It's not so hard to learn. Left foot forward, right foot side, close your foot, right foot back, right foot side, close your foot, right? It's not that hard to teach. And so these brand new teachers would have to teach these brand new students, and so they just teach the simplicity of steps. Well, that's a trend that has lasted all the way from that Great Depression. Here we are now in a recession, and we're hoping that means a lot of people are going to want to dance.
Fingers crossed.
Right? Fingers crossed. So, because we've got some cool stuff to share with you guys. So that structure stayed, though, where people are just teaching steps because it's the easier thing to teach and it's the easier thing to learn. Now, there's nothing really wrong with that. Like, my heart sings if somebody wants to dance. If they're on the dance floor and they're happy dancing, that makes me happy. Whether it's quality dancing, good technique, good form or not, I'm happy if people are happy dancing. However, I'm a lifelong dancer. And so for me, as a dancer and as a dance professional and teacher, it's not enough. I would feel that myself would be robbed or would be robbing my students if I didn't teach connection. So I just taught you a whole bunch of steps and didn't give you the actual language of communication on those steps. Like, you would just be robbed of the magic that is connection. And it's really cool. I remember we had actually, that's how we were brought into it. We had done steps. We learned some salsa steps. Now, we were already modern jazz, hip hop dancers, all those things, but solo dancers. And then we started to be introduced a little bit to like salsa and swing. And then a couple of years go by, and when we went to apply for our first job teaching ballroom dance, we actually didn't have ballroom dance experience. You didn't need any. They would train you, right? But we were coming in with a lot of dance knowledge and performance background. So we had some confidence, right? Maybe a little too much at the moment.
Yes,
so we go in for our interview, and the woman who eventually hired us said, do you have any partnership dance training? And we're like, oh yeah, we've done a little salsa. Yeah, we know some salsa. That was me brushing off my shoulders in case you're not watching or listening.
We dance all the styles.
And so she goes, great, show me. And we were both like, wah, wah. Like, oh crap, I wish I hadn't said that. Because what we realized in that moment was we had learned salsa choreography several years back for one little performance number. Well, I didn't remember the choreography at this point.
No.
And it became very clear very quickly that we did not know how to partnership dance, that we did not know salsa, that we could not just get into frame and like lead and follow a couple patterns. And so
we didn't even really know what patterns were at that point. I mean, for us, it was just choreography,
right?
In a broad sense, rather than like, here are these phrases that, when put together, make something bigger, make the choreography. And so that was an interesting lesson.
Yeah, I don't think, and I remember, a little further down the line, so we're hired, we're teaching, we're continually training as we teach. Hello. Oh, so nice to see you.
Hi, Teresa.
So, a little further down the line, we're working these steps, and I remember asking one of our teachers who's training us to teach, I was like, so can she follow that, or does she just have to know it? And he would always go, yes. And I was like, that's super annoying answer, since it was an either or question. And of course he was being annoying on purpose, but he meant it. And what he means is that, you kind of have to have an understanding of vocabulary, right? Like words. In which cases, patterns, steps, where do your feet go? You've got to have some understanding of that. However, yes, you can lead and follow it. And so that's what's happening in a lot of dance programs out in the world, especially at a more of a beginner level, which is where, a lot of the couples who crave dancing in their relationships, that's where they're at. They're beginners and they're not really interested in becoming professional level dancers, right? But so they'll end up learning steps, just steps. And it's okay and it's fun and if you enjoy it, but you'll be missing something. The steps may never really look that good, may never feel that good, and we'll never get that ooey gooey juicy connection.
It's kind of, I like to consider it kind of like paint by number,
Yeah.
I remember growing up, I used to love paint by number because when you're done, you're just like, whoa, I painted that.
I'm so good at this.
Right? I'm so good at this. You don't really need practice or effort for that matter when it comes to paint by numbers. Basically, a giant coloring book with paint. But then if we were to give you just a few colors of paint and one specific type of brush and noticing the relationship of the brush and the canvas or whatever surface that you're painting on, that connection, that starts to build an identity, I guess, as a painter. And for us, that would be our feet on the floor, our connection with one another, and what her skin feels like against mine. It's a really neat way to think about it, because for some reason, people disconnect a lot with dance, or those who are not dancers. It's really easy for them to kind of go, oh, well, I don't dance, or I have two left feet. And then they kind of cut that communication barrier off without even knowing that it exists. But if you think about painting, or like you said, piano, for some reason, people can kind of settle into that a little bit more. So I think that's interesting to just use that as an analogy.
Maybe it's easier for us to hear. You can hear when someone's playing an instrument really poorly, whether you know how to play it or not.
Or sings off key on American Idol.
Yeah, you can just hear it. And so I think maybe there's just a little more confidence where you can watch dancing, and maybe it's a little more subjective whether you think it's good or bad. However, we've done little experiments with our students where we're like, okay, watch this version, now watch this version. Which one's better? And then a non-dancer can look at it and tell you which one's better, and they can't tell you why, but they know innately, that one looks better. And it's usually that, if we're talking about partnership dance, it's that there's a connection. There's a subtle, silent, and nearly invisible connection. So you get these really cool power moments where it's like, oh my gosh, how did she know to spin 8 times right there and then do the thing and whatever, or once, right? I like to spin. How did she know? Because the lead is not being telegraphed. It's not can you show a telegraphed lead? Sorry if you're on the podcast.
So I will just demonstrate and tell you what I'm doing. So I'm going to lift my hand just a little bit too high and a little too soon before it is necessary for her to receive and actually do the spin. But rather, instead, we want to push into each other. We do what we call a 5 push. So I'm giving her a little bit forward energy, and then I slightly lift, and right at that last minute of the lift is when she would decide to rotate. And of course, it is her decision to spin and how fast and when, and the leaders are there simply to invite and as support as she goes under.
I like that you said that, because it wasn't even on my agenda today, but to talk about that dynamic, like I said, we like to call it connection. We often talk about it being a conversation happening on the dance floor, a silent one. Because I think lead and follow maybe has a stigma too, that especially this day and age is maybe rejected a little bit. Where he's the commander and she will do what he says, and
right.
That's an antiquated idea. Ladies, of course, we know we're not going to be bossed around like that. However, following is super fun. So as a dance teacher, you have to know how to do both. You know how to lead and you know how to follow. Actually, as a female teacher, I teach leading more often, and he teaches following more often, because see, we're working with the opposite partner.
And often, I think, with couples who are just getting started, if more often than not, the female wants to dance
She's the natural leader.
More than the leader does, or more than the gentleman does. And so they'll come in and they'll even do a little demonstration of what dancing is for them. And often it's her kind of doing what we call back leading. So she would lift her arm when she needs to go. And
it's like when he's driving and I'm like, oh, turn, you should put your turn signal on.
Backseat driver is how you could translate that.
We all know that's annoying.
And I think for the gentlemen, we're often, as leaders, like, okay, well, sure. I mean, I'll take the back seat then, because number one, maybe we don't want to be there, or we're a little more uncomfortable than our partner.
In our culture, women are kind of more the natural dancers, or it's more conducive for them to dance. There's all kinds of things.
So it's kind of shifting over time, I think, where the leaders are kind of falling, or the gentlemen are falling into the followers role a little bit, even though the patterns and the communication is not designed that way.
That's how lesson 1 starts. And I'll tell you, like, with thousands of couples we've taught, I can't think of an exception to that, where I've worked with a brand new couple who hasn't danced before, and I don't have to gradually, over the course of several lessons, do a role reversal for them.
A bad habit.
And go, hey, Missy, you're going to be the follower. Trust me, it's fun, and it doesn't crush on your individuality or your expression or make you a puppet that he commands. It doesn't do any of those things.
And I think gentlemen sometimes have the reputation of being more silent in a relationship as well. So you kind of see that come through, or kind of like, yes, honey, whatever you say, or, that sounds good to me, or they're just being kind of agreeable. And I know I'm guilty of it as well. But I find that when working with those couples and when we dance together, that it forces me, hey, Scott, where it forces me to make a decision, and it also forces our followers to kind of step back and put some trust in us and faith that we're actually going to make that decision and be clear about the invitation.
It's really cool because I can't tell you how many lessons we've taught where, we're working on this idea of connection. It's subtle. It takes a little patience. It's really magical once you learn it. Where one of the pair will go, okay, hey, wait a minute. Is this dance class or is this relationship therapy?
And then I say yes.
So it is, not to say that we don't make you dig all your skeletons out of the closet and make you cry and stuff, but
it happens though.
But I have seen tears on the floor, but it's usually
tears of joy or relief.
I didn't realize there was this dynamic going on in the bigger picture of our relationship, and it just presented itself on the dance floor to a dance teacher who barely knows us. Right? So it's whatever dynamic and communication concepts are going on between you as a couple, it will be the same ones that occur on the dance floor. And what that means is that through the lens of dance, which is fun and romantic and playful and intimate and time well spent together, so it's light and easy, right? You get to sort of address some of those.
You get to work it out.
Those communication issues that you might have. It's a really subtle, gentle way to kind of, date night can be a little bit therapeutic. Dancing together is an improvement of communication. We witnessed it on ourselves. We went through a stretch where I remember this was several years ago now, where it was oh my gosh, we were fighting. Now remember, we're operating at a professional level. We were getting ready for competition. So the stakes are kind of high.
Hey, David.
Hello, David. And we were fighting all the time. And I remember we were in Las Vegas for a competition, practicing in the little room and getting ready. It was just so stressful. And we were arguing, couldn't get the thing right. I threw my hands up and I sat down on the couch and in tears, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm a lifelong dancer. So I got chills just even repeating that, because it was heartbreaking to go, I don't want to dance anymore. I don't want to do this. And
I agreed. I accepted. But I think we were just trying to dance our piece of the choreography. There wasn't communication. There wasn't a connection. We were lacking that, and maybe had some of it at that point, but not enough to go out there and be a unit of one. And when you're dancing partnership, especially competitively, all the other couples on the floor are dancing as units of one, and it's quite intimidating when you go out there. You kind of feel like you're in this floaty all by yourself and next to your partner who's in their floaty, and then you just feel kind of clumsy, like you're bumping off of each other. So I think it's just important that you recognize that it's movement that is designed to be done together, just like your relationship is, and when you put up walls between one another, it just becomes like you got a roommate, and I'm on this side of the page and you're on that side of the page, and it doesn't really work out so well.
Yeah, I mean, in that moment of dancing together, you become a unit. And we always say, and you'll hear this if you embark on our dance dates with us, that the partnership the dance is only as good as what each individual brings to it. That's it. It can't be any better than that. So if Grumpy Pants comes in, I don't want to dance today. I guess I'll do it for her.
Whatever makes her happy.
Okay, please don't then. Like, put on a smile or don't bother. You're not doing any favors, right? I've taught that guy. Can you tell? I've taught that guy many times. So who you are as an individual super matters. Super matters. And you have that opportunity to be expressive and communicate there's one other thing I want to say. So coming back to this idea of patterns, a lot of places that if you decide you want to learn, especially if you want to learn online, like trust me, I know you can go on the YouTube and get tons of patterns for free. Go for it. I encourage you to. Get the patterns, have fun with them. But know that the bulk, the goodness, the juice of it, connection will be missing. It's not something that's taught in a quick video. It's
You're
a
back
process
to your paint by numbers at that point.
needs to be learned and understood. And that's what we've really built our new Dance Date series around. So what I wanted to share was, because we know about 25 different partnership dances, and each of them have, I don't know, way too many patterns in them. So, I mean, we easily know 500 dance patterns, I'm sure. Something around there. But when we actually dance together, when we're not doing choreography for shows or things like that, when we're actually just dancing like a couple, intimate, romantic, enjoying each other's company, we probably access, 15-ish?
I would say 10 to 15.
10 to 15 patterns, meaning where do your feet go on the floor? Did she spin right? Did she spin left? What did the fancy arms do, right? Like probably around 15 of them. That's not really that many. And the reason is because that's not where the magic is. The magic is in getting connected. We're actually going to drop a video on our social media channels later this week and show you how we connect into the embrace. When we actually get into dance frame, it's the most powerful moment of our dance. It's a lot of what we teach inside Dance Dates.
It's like setting a dialogue for yourself, or a communication dialogue too, even speaking just from a relationship perspective of like, if I'm all about me, or I've been at work all day and that's where my head is still, and then I come here and then she's been here with the kids all day and, she's looking for some reprieve and I'm looking to relax and quiet. That's two different mindsets.
But we've got to get on the same page.
And we gotta find that balance. And so that's what our beginning ritual is when we start to dance. We kind of use that same notion of getting on the same foot, so to speak.
And setting a mood, right? What kind of dance is this going to be? Are we like sultry and dreamy and like melting into each other? Are we going to be happy and like have some fun and then get a beer after? Like, what are we going to do?
James says he misses that connection.
I miss it too. James.
Soon.
So soon. So that's kind of what happened. I told you, I mentioned, that history of the Arthur Murray chain and how they started punching teachers out really fast. And the easiest thing to teach and learn is steps. And yes, you're going to need some. Steps are like words. You can't have a conversation if you don't know any words. So it's not to say the steps are unimportant. They are important. But the thing that most dance programs are missing, a great many of them are, and especially if you go and just pick up steps here and there online, you're gonna miss the connection. And I want to say that because there are those programs out there, and I think there are a lot of couples out there who will really jive with this. Oh, I just punned. We're not even teaching jive. Who will really jive with our dance program, even though it's not a jive program. But it's probably not for everyone because it does take a little more patience. There's a little more nuance in it. Dare I say there's a meditative element, or even if you wanted to take it there, a spiritual element of connection. There's no non-denominations, right? There's nothing in there, but I'm saying there is this element of presence and self-awareness and connection. We have to have that nowness and self-awareness in order to connect well. Remember, the partnership dance is only as good as what we each bring to it. So it's a little deeper. I think it's a little thicker. So the Dance Date series that we're just launching, finally, yay, it's been a long time coming, is a series of 4 date nights. They're chopped up into individual date nights, and we encourage you to do like one a week, but you could certainly do more than that. If you spread them out too much further than that, you're going to need to repeat them, which is good too.
Or if you did, like, you could practice. You could do like the first date and then the next week practice that date,
and
what
then
you
your
learned,
second date, right?
and stretch it out that way.
But they are progressive. They're sequential, so you got to do them in order. Dance date 1, 2, 3, 4, and over the course of that, you will learn 12 steps or 12 patterns. Remember, you do need the patterns, but more importantly, we're going to teach you those patterns through the lens of connection. We're not going to skip over that thing that most people skip over. We're going to give you the magic, juicy goodness right in the beginning. And then from there, you have, like Ray's been using this paint by numbers analogy. You don't have a paint by numbers. You have a blank canvas with which to have a dance floor conversation, to be expressive, to connect in a way that feels uniquely you, to music you enjoy, a style that you feel. So the movement we teach is quite versatile, goes to a lot of music. But like I said, the root of it is connection, and that's the root of our conversation today is we love connection, but why? And that's why it's the magic secret sauce. It is, and I'm really excited to share it with more and more couples. So if it sounds of interest to you, then you go to melonlight.com and you can learn more about it and check it out there. If it sounds like something a couple you know might enjoy, please just shoot them a message, let them know. Right now, because we're just launching, we are doing a special launch pricing. There's a great discount on it. You're going to have to go to the website to find out what it is. Yep, I'm doing it like that. And it's only going to last until this Sunday at 2 p.m. So if you want to take advantage of the special launch pricing, then go to melonlight.com, get your Dance Date series. There's absolutely no risk because if you don't like it, you've got 30 days to get your money back. We'll just give it back because if you don't like it, then you shouldn't pay for it.
But you'll love it.
You'll love it. It's great. We're really proud of it. It's a lot of years of content that we've really sifted down after working, like I said, teaching 15 years, working with tons of couples, really distilling down what is the thing that makes it special. Because it's sometimes couples come in and they're like, oh, we want to learn salsa or we want to learn swing, and that's great. Or we have no idea what we want to learn. We just think it would be nice to dance together. And what we find is that when we skip a lot of that, a lot of the fluff and stuff and go straight to connection, they're like, whoa, like the heart, and they feel it and they get what they came for. They get that connection with their partner. It's really a romantic thing that should stick around. So check it out at melonlight.com. We would love to hear your thoughts and have you check it out. Anything else?
I just want to say thank you one more time for tuning in.
Thank you guys.
We love you all.
Appreciate it. We do love you. I'm Emily.
And I'm Raymond.
And
we love connection. Thanks for tuning in today.
If you want to grab a freebie, then jump on over to melonlight.com and get your mini dance date and see for yourself how we help couples connect through dance.
You can always find more tips, entertainment, and inspiration by following Melon Light Dance on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
We love you. Happy dancing!